At the October 26, 2015 Board of Ed meeting held at High School West, Betty DeSabato, Chair of the Half Hollow Hills Board of Ed Audit Committee, gave the following report about the Audit Committee meeting of October 21st, 2015.
Any correspondence, Catherine? Any board committee updates?
The Audit Budget Subcommittee met on Wednesday, October 21st. The district received an outstanding external audit report for the year 2014-15. Peter Rodriguez from Cullen and Danowski presented the draft report. The auditors needed a full valuation actuary report to complete their work and expect to present the final external audit report to be approved by the Board of Education at a special meeting on Thursday, October 29th. Thank you.
Here is the report of the management letter from the auditor. This was omitted from the committee report given to the Board of Ed.
We issue a management letter each year on anything that we feel we can recommend to improve operating efficiencies or whatever it might be. It starts on page 2 with the status of the prior year comments. Okay, and last year you had, 5 or 6 comments. First 4 have been completed. The accounts payable process went very well this year. Accounts payable you sometimes have to estimate. You have to estimate because you may not have the actual bills in. Happens a lot with tuition. Happens with utilities. So, the way you handle utilities, as an example, is you set up a blanket purchase order at the beginning of the year for electric. And you get down to the end of the year in June, and you've paid through May, and there's still $200,000 on that PO. That's not a good payable. You have to estimate what the June bill is going to be. You may have it in the middle of July, or you may just estimate it, but based on history, your payment might be $25,000, so you have to liquidate that excess PO. And then only accrue the balance. Well, that was corrected this year. Last year we had, in 13-14, things were rolled over the estimate wasn't good. That was all correct this year. The accounts payable process went very smooth, so we've considered it to be corrected.
Wasn't some of the utilities, wasn't that reflected in the other audit that was done? Where we compared with other school districts?
The efficiency.
The efficiency,
Piece of it.
the energy efficiency.
Different
project.
conclusion. We had overestimated. It actually came in much less.
And we were the ones that, weren't our numbers significantly lower than the other school districts? We saved more money is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
It's correlated,
Yeah,
correlated
so
on
we
a
saved
direct
more money
nexus.
than any of the others who had energy performance contracts.
Yes, from the
Significant,
ABC audit,
yes, from that audit, the numbers, so that's why we had more left in there, because if you anticipate, as they did, then on those monies would have been spent, but we didn't, we had.
Yes, that was part of the
Right,
basis
and we
for the
actually
estimate.
just received correspondence regarding the performance efficiency.
Yeah, the
We
report
just
came in.
it just came.
Right, so this has to do with recording payables at year end, and sometimes you have to just close your books and you can't wait till November, December for a bill to come, especially if it's tuition, so you make an estimate. As long as it's a decent estimate, and it has some bearing, to the prior years, that makes sense. So the accounts payable was corrected. We had a recommendation, and there was the journal entries are not being reviewed timely. So you put a procedure into place. Now the journal entries are being reviewed on a regular basis by management. So we consider that by Emory. So we consider that to be corrected. There was an odd situation with the STAR in 14. The town of Hempstead changed the was it town of Hempstead? Town of Huntington changed did something with the assessment, and the STAR got mixed up, and you eventually got the extra STAR
Yes.
payment, but it wasn't realized till after the year end close. So we recommend you review and make sure that those estimates, those budgets that you're using work, come in properly. And that was all corrected this year. That's positive. Driver's ed. You weren't budgeting for the driver's ed program, you were just, as the expenses came in, you were revising the budget. We recommend that it be part of your operating budget, and you did that moving forward. So you budgeted the expenses and the revenues as part of your operations. Okay, so that's been corrected. Extra classroom, it has been problematic for a number of years. I got all these bullet points, I despise this as an auditor, but it's a tough area. You're now using dual signatures, there was a lot of times the central treasurers at these districts have the ability to maintain the books, do the bank recs, and sign the checks. You know, no real segregation of duties. Now with the dual signatures on it, that helps out. Two people signing the check it's a control, so that worked out good. There's a bunch of things that are unchanged, you know. They should be able to correct some of these, interest not allocated to the clubs. You know, you do earn an interest as minimal as it is. It should be allocated year into the clubs. I think you have a club called interest. No, so, you know, we want that allocated. That should be able to give that to the central treasurer. They prepare a report for you at the end of the year, you know, that they do a monthly report?
Yes.
Monthly or quarterly?
They do a monthly, but then they do an annual report. So I'm not suggesting that they allocate the interest every month, because the interest might be, you know, $6. But at the end of the year, when in doing the annual report, they should zero out the interest and allocate it to clubs either by their ending balance.
Individual clubs?
Yeah, the interest goes to the clubs.
Yeah.
Now, on a spreadsheet, it takes about, I don't know, 10 seconds. You know, you
Yeah,
set up
it's
the
just-
spreadsheet, right? And I think the reports they're giving you are based on Excel. They're using Excel probably
They all
for
use
it.
different programs.
Okay.
One use Quicken, one use QuickBooks, one uses Excel.
Okay, so they gotta
So
figure it
my
out.
question is like, what's the challenge here? What can we do
We don't
to
control it,
streamline?
my office doesn't control it, that's the challenge.
So what can we put in place
I
at the
have,
building?
yep, so I have training that I've done every year. I actually created a resource manual for them indicating all the best practices that I had created at a prior district and continued to add to it here. That's distributed to every central treasurer and every club advisor every year
In every building.
in every building. And I also provided last year the specific comments that Cullen and Danowski had provided to us, and I communicated that to the building central treasurers as well. So other than doing it ourselves, this will probably remain as an audit comment as it did, you know, in my prior district and as it does, I believe, in every district.
I think that's the important piece.
Well, it does-
It's,
this
you
is,
know, Half Hollow Hills is not different. It's probably even more established and appropriate practice in place.
We have, I'm gonna guess we do, you know, like 50 external audits. I would think there's some form of extracurricular activity comment in probably 40 of them, 45.
Right.
You have some smaller districts, you have some districts that comply, that have a little bit better, maybe they have less clubs, much more, it's much smaller, so it's easier to control. They just have a middle school, you know, they have 15 clubs at the high school and 10 at the middle school. You don't have, they have a lot more clubs. So the more clubs, you know, getting the kids to stay involved, getting the kids to sign off, because it's the kids' money. They need to sign off on the transactions, if you will. You know, approve the payment orders and say, yes, these invoices are good, pay these. Sometimes there's breakdown during the year. Again, we do a small sample, and we find these things in our small sample, so if you extrapolate it to the population, there's a lot of, you know, kids aren't signing up. The kids lose interest, I think, at a certain time.
Absolutely.
In other places, does the individual club advisor manage the funds? You know, for
What
the
you-
individual
well,
clubs?
What you have is, here's what you really have. With the extra class, you have board oversight, that's one thing. And then you have you know, you have the central treasurers that you appoint for each, you know, location. They're the ones who write the checks and maintain the books. Then you have the faculty advisors that are at the club level. And I believe that a lot of times the building principals are involved with this also. Okay, you know, so those are the people that are involved. But you have, you know, the whole setup with the state is, you know, is a little bit convoluted, if you will, because they want to teach the kids how to be in business. They want to teach the kids how to, you know, collect sales tax and pay sales tax and run it like it's a business. And it doesn't happen that way. Kids order supplies, and the vendors just believe that it's part of the school district, so they don't charge the tax. The kids don't go back to the way saying, you gotta pay the tax, which you're supposed to pay when you buy something, because it's a business. And the whole thing is, you know, the important part with it is a couple things you could correct here. Certainly you can get the interest allocated and get that account down and get it into the clubs. That can be done. That's easy enough. You have clubs with no activity. When I provide you with the extracurricular activity report, you'll see clubs that have a beginning balance and an ending balance with no activity. So what you might want to do now is, you know, to determine if these clubs are active, is what I've done with other districts is you've taken that report, and it has all the different clubs listed down, and you get rid of all the numbers and you make it a sign-in sheet. And you give it to the high school principal, and they go around and you want to get signatures from student president, student treasurer, and faculty advisor. If that comes back and you see there's 5 or 6 clubs with no signatures, they're inactive. Close them down now, allocate the balances to the student council, whatever the board policy is, and get rid of them, so next year we don't have that comment. Now's the time to do that, because it's October, the clubs are just starting up, and you might have 5 or 6 or 7 clubs that really don't have a student council and a faculty advisor. Or, even worse, you have a faculty advisor that's getting a stipend and you don't have a club. So, using that, I say, these are the clubs we had, I want to see a couple of signatures of the faculty advisor, student president, and student treasurer. If they have it, you know it's an active club. If they don't, act on it now, you can close those clubs down.
And we get club charters that are going to be coming to the board in November, is it? So that
And that's another way to
process
do it.
is accomplished through that effort.
So if there's no club charter coming to the board, and you have a report that shows that there was a club there last year with funds in it, make the determination now and have the central treasurers allocate it to either all the clubs or to the student council, whatever it might be, and close them down, so next year you don't see those inactive clubs. They'll still have an opening balance, but you'll see a transfer of disbursement that closes it down to zero.
Thank you.
So you can certainly take care of that. You can enforce with the central treasurers that you need the kids to sign off on these things. You know, it's pain in the neck, you know, they're trying to get the paperwork done. Faculty advisor, the kids are no longer interested. Faculty advisor has some bills that are coming in, wants to get them paid, but try and get the students to involve, you know, to do that. And some of the other stuff we found during the current year were isolated situations. We bring it to your attention, they'll probably be cleared up next year. You know, misposting in the books, one club, it was posted to the wrong club in the books, where, you know, the art club turns over, you know, $200, and it gets posted to, I like to use the Spanish club. Okay, so, you know, you do the best you can, you enforce the training, you try and get it out there, try and clean up some of the minimal ones that you can get rid of, and you move forward. And the last comment from the year before, which we think is still unchanged, is the due funds. You know, you have activity between the funds that either loans or transactions that are recorded with journal entries. I want to go back to page 16. You know, I'll just look at, well, let's look at due from other funds. Okay, and that's like the 4th or 5th line down. General fund, $28,000. So there's a $28,000 receivable in the general fund, 3.6, 1 million, 17 million. These can be consolidated. If you look at the payables, the general fund owes 23 million. So you have due froms that I think should be, first should be consolidated. There's no reason in the debt service fund to show a $17 million receivable and a $16.8 million payable. They have to be, journals have to be made, or cash has to be transferred to clean these things up. And that's what we're recommending on that comment. Get those things cleaned up a little bit, because they just continue to grow. And it's a $28 million receivable in the general fund and a $23 million payable. It really comes down to a $5 million receivable. So, isolate it, figure out which funds are what. A lot of it can be done with journal entries, because you just have receivables and payables for the same funds. So Debbie, you can work on that. We think you should clean it up and make it a little more, readable, because, $28 million is really not owed to the general fund. But there's a $23 million payable going out. I would net those out. I like to see each fund have either a receivable or a payable. And each fund you have here has both receivables and payables. So, I would work on that. Okay, and for the current period, we only have one recommendation. It has to do with the payroll rollover process. We do testing every year on the payroll, and what we found this year was one of your contracts, I think it's for paraprofessionals. The situation, paraprofessionals are hired all throughout the year, and one of the stipulations of the contract is, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong with the date, if you're hired after February 28th or March 1st, whichever one it is, when June 30th comes and you go to the next year, you don't get a step increase.
Correct.
They're hired prior to that date,
Correct.
you get a step increase. You have a bunch of paraprofessionals where some get step increases because they're hired prior to March 1st, and others who are hired late in the year don't get the step increase into the next year because they've only been with you for, say, for 3 or 4 months. And we found some discrepancies there where the people who were hired after March were, got the step increase when they shouldn't have. So you got to watch that rollover. I mean, that's something that's unique to that contract. And statements can be easily missed, very immaterial amounts.
That's what I
No,
wanted to
and
get.
it states, we have it in the last sentence, it should be noted, that the amounts were very immaterial. I think it was like maybe 40 cents.
Okay, but that's what I would ask as a superintendent, is that 40 cents goes in the report. I don't want someone reading this report and thinking that it's a
Well, we
large
say
amount
that it
of,
should
a
be
large
noted
amount of money
that
for.
the total dollar value of this movement in step was immaterial to the district. I don't know if each part, I just use 40 cents as a.
That was noted as the average, the 46.
Okay, so we can put something in about if you want to put the average, it's up to you. I mean, we're noting that it's immaterial, but the recommendation is to watch the roll of the process.
Right, but what, from my vantage point, is I'd like to know how many employees that involve, what.
Well, we can't really say, because, we didn't test 100% of the employees. We did a sample, we tested two. There were two that came up in our main sample of 40. And then we expanded slightly to see if there was more, and there were a few more in there. So I can tell you what we tested. I can't tell you exactly how many employees there was in total, because we didn't test each and every one of them.
No, well, you wouldn't have to test each and every one of them, but I could actually go back. I could go back, I could look at all employees hired March 1st and beyond, and I could run a report, so
Okay.
that I would know. I just
Well,
don't,
that could be part of your corrective, so we can
Yeah,
think,
yes.
exactly.
and that could be part of your corrective action,
Mhm.
okay? 'Cause
Yeah, I just don't want, I don't want there to be a belief that there were hundreds of employees.
Well, that's why we said immaterial to the district, it's an immaterial amount.
Right.
Now, your corrective action can quantify that and say that it was limited to 6 employees, whatever it
Correct,
might be.
that's
Because I don't think it was,
Great.
you're looking at a whole year worth of hires.
Yeah, it
Yep.
was 7, and I think it
Unless
was
you
about
look-
$3,000
Right.
in total.
But-
3,000 in
Just
total.
$3,000.
Okay, great. That's,
And we'll incorporate that into the corrective action plan to scope that.
okay. That's, it's just
Yeah,
that's
it's pertinent.
important, it is
Mhm.
pertinent.
Right, because otherwise you're left with it could be any amount of money. It could
Correct.
be,
Now, what you could do if you want to is, and I would do, I could add to this, because we have time, we're still doing the financials, we can add to this management's response if you like.
Yeah, that'd be
Put a
great.
section of management's response right after, and then you can do your response right there. You still have to do corrective action, it doesn't constitute a corrective action. That has to be sent, but the management's response sometimes is, I want to look at the management letter, I see the comment, I have management's response, it just answers the question right then and there.
Correct, perfect.
Okay, so what I would ask you to do, Annie, is to, I'm gonna say that you should have a management response then for anything that's open, not just
Sure.
that one.
Oh,
Okay,
absolutely.
so you can put a management response for extracurricular activity, management response for interfund receivables payables, and a management response for the payroll.
And we've actually done that in the past.
Yeah.
I don't know if we did it last year, but we've done that in the past.
So if you do that, you type up the responses, we'll incorporate into this, I'll provide you with it. That way, if something in the management letter is sensitive,
Sure.
somebody reads it, what'd you do about it? Well, now you can put your response right there. So
Absolutely.
we'll work it that way.
Great.
Okay, good.
Perfect.
Questions? That's all I have to report.
Now, this is a draft copy, the final
Well, this is the draft copy of the management letter.
management.
These are draft copies of those 3 or 4 or 5 financial statements. Okay, I think before, once we get the final draft of the entire financial statement, I think I always have to provide that to Anne Marie
Yes.
to review. I should probably provide for the audit committee members for their review also. And then at that point in time, we can go through it, and if you have any questions, we can certainly have a phone conference on it. You can just give me a call. It's gonna be, the rest of the statements is gonna be the MD&A and comparing stuff. It gets very confusing because we've got 2 methods of accounting. So on the general fund, we looked at it already, you have the $656,000 fund. On the government-wide, you may have a $4 million loss.
Right.
Or an $8 million profit because of the pension, I don't know even where it's gonna be. So you got these 2 numbers that, which one is it?
Right.
2 different accounting methods, and that's why you have 2 different net incomes. Hard to read,
It is.
hard to read.
And then we'll have, the plan is to have the audit committee recommend the full report to the board at the November meeting, after you've had an opportunity to review it.
Right, I still want everybody to get a chance to review the report, ask questions, especially Henry has to approve the report, so she needs a week to just go through it and read.
And you will be at the November meeting.
And I will come to, what night is it? November?
Monday night, I think it's the 14th.
Okay, I'm sure I'll check my availability, but we'll make it there one way or another.
Do you need to know when it is?
If you have it, just so I can, I'll go back.
14th is a
16th.
Saturday. Yeah, it's not the
16th.
14th.
It is a Monday night.
Yeah, it's
It's
definitely
Monday
Monday
the
night.
16th.
Thank you very much, Peter.
And what I think we should do though, is this, since you're meeting on the 16th, once you get the reports and you look at them, you're happy with the reports and then Emery's done a review of it, I think we should file with the state before the 14th. Okay, the due date on this report is, obviously, the due date was October 15th with a 30-day grace period. The grace period works well, there's no ramifications to the district. Get it in by the 14th, and that's fine. Unofficially, the ramifications are if you don't get it into the state, they'll hold back your December payment of state aid. So they produce a warrant that says, we're gonna pay all these districts, and if you don't report not in by Thanksgiving, they're gonna say, you're off the warrant. But I think you should get it in by the 14th. So that would be based on, once you receive the report, if the audit committee's gonna recommend to the board to accept the report, I think you can go and file it before it's accepted, that's fine.
We will be able to see the report.
Oh, you're gonna see the report probably before the following,
Before Halloween.
yeah, so you'll see the report.
I actually
By
may
next week.
ask them to have a special meeting. If we can have
It's
a
up to
special
you,
meeting,
and-
yeah, I
and then-
would
and-
prefer
and-
that the
and
whole
in the past,
board,
we've waited,
correct.
Right.
but the meeting would usually be the second meeting in October.
Yeah, no, I don't want,
Okay,
I
that's
would
fine.
prefer not that, I want all of the board to see the report and we'll come together and.
Before it's
and exact-
filed.
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay, fine, perfect, I appreciate it,
Yeah.
that's good. I just asked the question just to get direction.
that's, yeah.
Okay, great.
Peter, thank you very much.
Okay, very good. Okay, everybody have a nice day.
Thanks.
We'll be in touch. So we'll be in touch, Anne Marie.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. And you get to recommend the management responses to that. Good.
Okay, how are you? Oh, great. Yep.
Let me, let me find out.
So Peter, by October, we'll have it, the 31st?
Yeah, I think we have, we're gonna want to work on it over the weekend, so sometime, maybe the end,
You know,
we shoot
can I
for the end
ask
of
you-
next week.